Hello and welcome to this video. This playlist we're talking about the CKA and how we can prepare for that one and then cover all the chapters there. Now we are in the cluster architecture, installation and configuration chapter, and now we are in the RBAC section. In the other video, we're talking about the optional part of the subjects that was created about user and group. Now in this video, we start the RBAC and we go into the service account part here. But the main question is that why RBAC? In Kubernetes, you need to authenticate before you allow to make requests to the API resources. Mostly, a cluster administrator has access to all resources and operation. Can be very risky because a user may accidentally delete the critical Kubernetes object, which can be impact to the end user. And so it's very essential to limit the access to your Kubernetes resources. And for example, the application developers don't need to manage the cluster nodes. They only need to access some objects and run or configure their application. And this is where role-based access control or RBAC comes in. The RBACs can define the policy for the user, group, and the process by allowing or disallowing access to manage the API resources. And enable and configure the RBAC is mandatory for the organization with a strong focus on the security. Here we can see three key buildings block for the RBAC. That's one of them subject, the user or process that wants to access the resources. The other one is API resources, the Kubernetes API resources type there, config map pod deployment node. And the other one is operations or where, the operation that can be executed on the resources, like creating a pod or deleting the service. In the subject, we talked about the group and users before, and they created outside of the Kubernetes. So that's the reason it's optional, but I talk about it in the other video and you can watch it. But the service accounts part is its object in the Kubernetes. So in this video, we mainly talk about the service account. For example, when the help chart wants to define some Kubernetes object, it needs to use the service accounts to create those objects and send the request to the API. But let's see in the Kubernetes how we can create service accounts and how it's working. Let's create a service account. We can create a service account by the kubectl command, or we can use the YAML file, like API version, client service account, and metadata name. For example, here is demo2. But now I'm going to create the service account by the command. Oh, that's a delete service account, but create service account demo. Now when we see the service account, we can see that it's created 4 seconds ago, but here we can see that the secrets now it's 0. Before that, in the version 1.22 or the before that, it's automatically create a credential by the secrets for you. But in the new version, like 1.27 or 1.26, the credentials is directly using the token request. So it's not created when you create a service account. But you can do it manually, create a service account and create a secrets and connect these together. But now it's directly mounted token to the pod. We're going to see that. For example, here, if I want to describe the service accounts, no, it's deleted service accounts. I create a service account and describe the service account. We can see that now the token and mountable secrets is now. But in the older version, if your Kubernetes use the older version, you can see the tokens here. But let's see, create a pod. Okay, we're going to create a pod that we can use the demo app. We're going to pass the sleep 1 hour to there's a time that we can go to the pod. Now we create a service account named demo that needs to override, but in the older version you can use the -- service account to pass the service account to the run command. But in the newer version you need to override the YAML one. And in the newer version it's used the service account name, but you can mention the service account too. But service account is deprecated, so it's better to use the service account name. And we pass a demo here. Now we use the Alpine and run the demo application, for example. We can see get the pod. Okay, now the demo app is running. If we describe we can describe, or it's better to get the pod, but as a YAML file, like -o YAML. Maybe get pod demo app. Oh, that was demo app. Now we can see the whole YAML file for that pod. If we check here, it's mentioned that it's a default namespace, but if I want to show you the service account, okay, it's here. We have a service account. It's used the both of them because it's not totally deprecated, but now we have the both of them. But I guess later we just have this one. In the newer version, it's used the projected volumes. Projected volumes is part of the volumes. That's you can have multiple file in the one path. For example, here we have a service account token with the expiration seconds. If you want to have a long-term service account, you need to do it manually by creating the secrets for that service account and pass to that one. Then it's using the mount that secret. But now it's using the volume pod and the projected one. It's a path token and the certificate and the other stuff here. And it's the name of the file, but the path, we can see the path here. Yeah, it's here in the var run secrets Kubernetes service account. And we can see that it's used the API to pass the token. If we want to sit in the pod, we can go to let's go up and do it. We can go to the pod that's we created demo app one now. Okay, now we are in the pod. We can move to the var. It was the var run secrets Kubernetes service account. Now if you see that, yeah, there's a tree file. That's a tree projected one that you see that. I guess the namespace is just show the, let's see the namespace. Yeah, it's a default one because it's we use the default namespace, and we can see the token. Yeah, and it's a token that's this service account used to call the API. That's a whole thing that you need to know for the service account. And let's back to this part, and you can see the all service account here. That's the demo one. That's a neat part. You can do the describe the service account that I show you, but in the newer version we don't have that much thing in the describe service account, and we can assign the service account to the pod. That's the whole thing you need to know about the service account before you start the RBAC and the role binding part.